Hey there.
Hey, Alan.
How you doing?
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good.
Dude, it is, honestly, it is a big pleasure to talk to you, and we really feel humbled and honored that you would actually do this.
Oh, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Awesome, man. All right, so a lot of things to get to. You guys are doing a Kickstarter for BMS.
This is true, man. This is something that I've been working on with the guys quietly behind the scenes for about a year now, and for the date to be right around the corner, I'm just itching to get this thing out there and to hopefully have a successful campaign and go on to make a great movie for everybody.
I'm gonna, I don't make a lot of money, but I'm gonna donate at least $500 because of what you guys do, man. I mean,
I can't tell you how much we appreciate that. That's amazing. I mean, this is, I think, you share a sentiment that I think a lot of fans have, so hopefully that'll help fuel a successful campaign. But I think it just speaks volumes about the show and what we had, and the fact that it did end prematurely, and the fact
tragic.
that we can, yeah, it is. It was, there's not a lot of comedy like that on TV, and for us to be able to find a way to make this movie to continue this story for people in this way it's a cool time that we live in, but obviously it's your support that's going to make that happen. So I appreciate that, man.
No problem. So what? Tell me what happened with the whole FX thing. Like, they just tell you one day, "Oh, we're not going to do it. We're not going to re-up the contract."
Yeah, it was strange, man. It was on Spike when it was on TV, which is part of the problem is that it was the first go around for a scripted show for that network, and not sure that they quite had a handle on how to handle this show. So a few seasons in, we've got decent numbers, great numbers for a cable network, excellent numbers for the only scripted show on a network that nobody really knows about for scripted content. I mean, it was a really special thing that we had, but I don't think they really had the money to continue the show, and there was a little bit of a dispute as far as like how much they were going to pay for the show because they were licensing from Lionsgate, the studio.
Yeah.
That we were told that we were going back for a fourth season. We would buy we would rent apartments every year in Old Montreal, and we'd shoot in Montreal for a few months, and they told us to go ahead and find our apartments for the next season. Season 4, start to get the show written and figure out what we're going to shoot. And right at the last minute, they said that the negotiations fell through between the network and the studio, and we weren't going anymore, and that was it. And it, we were as surprised as anybody. People that watch the show these days, I think, you find it on Netflix. We've got an amazing following because most people have learned about the show through Netflix.
That's how I did.
And and people watch the show and they're like, this was actually a really funny show. Like I could enjoy this for a long time. It doesn't feel like the kind of show that should have ended. And these people that find it and discover it, they're like, this. Like, I just found the show and just found out it's not on TV at the same time. What's going on with this? So. I think that, there's a hunger for more, and we hope to fill that void.
There's honestly two comical shows in the history of my life that I've watched and actually been like, oh my god, genius. And one of them is Eastbound and Down, and the next one is BMS. I mean, two.
Oh man, I appreciate.
I mean, it's great, and it's tragic because Spike. Instead of backing, the UFC or, the wrestling product, if they would have really backed BMS, that could have been the end-all, be-all for that station.
Yeah, it's tough because, look, the reason BMS was so great, the reason it appealed to our audience so well, I think the creators who are genius knew the audience perfectly, and I will say that any success that we had was due to Spike and to Lionsgate, supporting the creativity that the creators had and that we had as a cast. Anything that we came up with, they would okay. It got to the point where we were like, they'll say yes to every idea we come up with. Let's come up with something that they cannot And then the second, so for the second episode, we're shooting this episode. They hand me a script called Pocket Pussy. And I'm like, no, okay. They're going to say no to this, right? And then I read the script and I find out that by the end I'm banging this thing in the lab room. And I'm like, like pants down around my ankles. I'm like, this is never going to happen, right? And everybody's like, no, man, this is the show. Yeah, go for it. And we're like, what? This doesn't happen.
Bosnia.
Yeah. And I'm like, please let there be more cooks in the kitchen. Like, this should be the time that people screw this for me, right? I don't want to do this. But, no, they knew the audience, and they allowed us the freedom to make that show what it was. And we owe that to them. It simply comes down to dollars. I mean, they're a small network. They don't have a lot to begin with. And when they're not getting the response that they hoped for with the model that they hoped to use. It's just a numbers game at that point. It just didn't make sense to them. It's as much a business as anything else. And, as much as we want to keep creating funny stuff to entertain people with, and that's our mission in life. That's not the same end goal for the network and the studio. So that's all it is. Nobody's a bad guy. They really helped make the show great, and we're grateful for everything that they did. And we continue to have an open dialogue about the feature now that we're going off making this on our own, and they're very supportive. It is what it is.
When you're given a script, is there a lot of room for improv, or is it just is it written for you? I mean, your character alone, because I mean, your character is great. It's funny, it's shocking. And it's also heartwarming and heartfelt. It's just a great character. One of the greatest characters on TV. I mean, ever. One of them.
Man, that's those are some pretty big shoes to fill. I appreciate that. That means a lot. I can say this: the writers that we had on that show, the creators, were the head of that vehicle, and then we had a lot of really talented writers that came on board, and that room was chock full of comedic talent, and they gave us more than just the bones for a great show every week. They gave me Thad, and my job. Certainly I had the freedom to do as much as I wanted, and, as I could improv anything I wanted. I had a lot of freedom, so I'm grateful for that. But I will say my goal was always just to add a little more dimension to a character that, a lot of times in TV and film comes off kind of one-dimensional or cliche, that sort of jock villain, and that's what I was always that was my goal, to create a depth and a dimension and more nuances to that kind of character. But they gave me everything that I needed to do that. So, I think the writers, 95% of that is on the page. And I just tried to breathe as much life into that as possible. And certainly there was a lot of improv, but we wouldn't have that without the writers and what they put on paper.
Yeah, I love the show so much. I named my dog Thad.
This is true.
Did you really? No, it's not.
I swear to God.
You really did.
What do you have, like a little chihuahua? It's like, shut up, Thad.
He knows.
Yeah, you know.
There you go.
It's a chihuahua that looks like a fox.
Yeah.
And he doesn't shut the fuck up, man. He's going, it barks at everything. And it's not even a regular dog bark. It's like a howl. Like, oh.
He's slightly off. He's slightly off, but that's bad. You got it right.
Yeah. All right, switching gears a little bit, Ninja Turtles. You have Ninja Turtles coming out. I mean, for one, me and you were around the same age. How fucking awesome is it to be Raphael?
Man, it's it's kind of weird to be bringing such an iconic character to life. I mean, you say Raphael to somebody, and everybody knows who you're talking about. So I think there's a weight to that, wanting to make sure that I get that right, and then breathe my own perspective into that while honoring what everybody already knows and expects. But yeah, all in all, I mean, it's cool, man. I mean, I grew up with this. I remember I used to go every week to the bowling alley. I grew up on a an Air Force base. Basically, my dad was in the military, and the bowling alley there had an arcade. And I wasn't so into bowling. I wanted to go play the Ninja Turtle arcade game. And I was always Michelangelo, and I play that thing every week. I loved the Ninja Turtles growing up. So to be a part of this has been really cool. It's cool. I love it.
You grew up did your father retire in the military?
He did, yeah. My father retired Chief Master Sergeant in the Air Force after 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
So he was in it for life, and that was part of the lifestyle for me growing up. And
how'd you like it moving around?
I think it contributed to a lot of who I am today. I thrived off of that. Growing up, I always wanted to be the new kid and meet new people, and it was always exciting. Like every year, if we had to move, it was a new adventure. I loved it, but I think being honest, I think it gives me the ability to sort of talk to anybody, fit into any crowd. Because you learn to blend in, you learn to figure out and adapt really quickly. It's probably why I'm an actor. But at the same time, I think the downside of that, which I've never really talked about before, is the fact that a lot of relationships are sort of surface deep. Like it's harder to
connect.
We can connect, but like those last, I don't really have many of those relationships where it's like I've known me and Tommy, we've been friends since we were in first grade. And we still we work together now. It's we go way back. I don't have any of those because I just life moves you along and we go different directions, and I've always been okay with that. And so I don't know. It's been an interesting life, but it's part of who I am. Yeah, definitely.
I was in the military for 12 years, and
oh wow,
I found it was hard, and I ended up having a son, and that's why I ended up leaving. But it's an experience that you'll never forget, and you wear it like a badge of honor.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your service. What branch were you in?
I was in the Navy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not it's not the Army or anything. So
yeah, but you're still moving around. It's a commitment, and any part of that machine that helps. Keep us safe or whatever. It's important. So I respect it a ton and appreciate that, and I understand what it takes, to be a military family.
I was when my son was first born, I just saw him and I was like, fuck, man, I can't miss out. I just can't.
Yeah.
So I really had to give up my career in the military, and then I picked up radio. So.
That's amazing, man. I get it too. I actually never really talk about my family publicly. People think that I'm sad in real life, which I think is I'm kind of proud of that because it means that I've done my job. And then nobody really knows about my personal life, and I kind of like that. But I do understand what you're talking about because I actually have two kids. I've got a 1.5-year-old boy and a 1-month-old boy, it's absolutely the most wonderful thing in the world, and I've never known love until that they teach you that, and it's immediate and sudden, and it's amazing. I understand how you could want to.
And it creeps up on you, huh? Because it doesn't a lot of people. They say, "Oh, I fell in love the first time I saw my child." And for me, it didn't happen like that. It didn't. I didn't just see him and fall in love. It was like a gradual process. Yeah, and you realize you're at work and that's all you're thinking about, and then you're laughing about it and you're crying when you're not with them, and then all of a sudden it's over. You're in love and there's nothing you can do. And
I was worried. I actually was worried. Talking about how I guess it's that narcissism that I admit to. I just don't. I don't connect so deeply that I'm like wounded when relationships are over. And I was like, I'm not gonna love this kid. Like you hear people like, oh, it's nothing. Like, I was weeping. Like he came out and I was weeping. It was like the most incredible thing I've ever. And I'm like, that's not gonna be me. And I'm gonna look like the cutest asshole in the world when my wife looks at me and she's like, you're not crying. But I will say this: the first with my first Caleb, I couldn't stop. I mean, I couldn't stop. The second I laid eyes on him, it was like a rush of emotion like I've never felt before, and it was from the first second. I was obsessed with him, and it's because the second one was kind of different. My boy Eden is a month old, and I expected that same kind of pantheon of emotion, in that moment, and I did. But the connection has been different because I think I'm used to the huge, larger-than-life personality and connection that I have with my first, and then you forget how sort of they don't do anything at first. So like you're not nearly as fun as your brother. But he grows on you.
I'm really scared to have another child. I just have one because in my heart, in my head, I can't love anyone else more than I love this kid. So I don't even want to try.
I know what you mean. It's I think that's man. This is getting deep. This is getting deeper than I anticipated. I'm the first to admit it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I love it though. But no, I mean, I will say that's the funny thing about love is that there's, I think we as human beings think there's got to be a limit to this. Feeling like everything else, like there's a point where there's just too much, or you can't handle anymore, or you can't manufacture enough to demonstrate that you love. It doesn't exist though with real love like this. There's just always room for more. The pie can always get bigger. You know what I mean? It's there's not a limited amount of slices, and that's the paradox, really.
All right. Well, if I have another son, I'll name him Thad too. Okay.
Yeah.
No, the other Thad, get over here. No, get the dog outside.
Yeah, sit down. Shut up. Eat your applesauce. Daddy's watching TV.
So I saw a clip on American Idol, I don't watch it. I didn't watch it, but the clip went around and I saw it. The two things I have for you. Two questions. One. Paul Abdul's into you, huh?
This was like 15 years ago for me. Are we?
You were pulling that premium pussy at 15 or 15 years ago? 15, right?
She was very kind and generous with her feedback.
She wanted the
D. We come along, you could say that.
All right. Did she ever try to contact you after it was over, or it was just that was it? She did. Okay. Silence speaks volumes.
You know what's funny is the next year there was that scandal where she was accused of hooking up with one of the contestants.
Uh-huh.
And although I certainly didn't do that, I just with the way things were. I wasn't surprised. I'll put it there.
Oh man, it makes me feel so much good, so good. So you write. So in my second part to that question is, you write and you're very into music.
I am. Yes, I really am.
Tell me through. I mean, how did this begin? Like, what kind of music are you into, and what do you like? Are you? I mean, besides the PMS, like, are you pursuing that?
I love this. Yes. Yes. My first love, I think the first time I ever thought or realized I was good at something and I had a passion for doing it and getting better and learning more, was music. So, I focused on that in school. I started to go to college for music theater. That was the focus for much of my life, and I started writing songs when I was, 18, and really focusing on that and trying to put together an album that I was producing. And I moved out to LA for music. There was a songwriting team that I had met at a songwriting convention that kind of wanted me to join. And I'd been out in LA for American Idol and sort of fell in love with the energy, and I was like, I think this is a good place for me. My move to LA was for music. I had never thought about getting into the acting thing. I mean, I thought about, I had done some music theater, so I've been on stage. It's not like it was completely foreign to me, but it wasn't the goal. And that kind of came out of nowhere, because while I was putting an album together out here and writing, I had a print agent who was sending guys out on like auditions at night. He'd like call them up and like, hey, I read the breakdowns. I'll like managing people on the side basically.
Right.
I found out, and I was like, hey, dude, let's see if we can make some extra money. Send me out, and I'll see how it goes. And he did, and everything I went out on, I just started booking. And it got to the point where I kind of had to put the music down, because I was like then I was a recurring guest star on Smallville. I was working, a lot. I was doing like independent film. I mean, I was just working, and I kind of had to make a choice to focus on one or the other. And I was actually making an income acting, and that's been the case ever since. Knock on wood, but I kind of let the music go because I was focusing on acting, and obviously I think it was the right choice. But that love never went away. And recently I was shooting Catching Fire in Atlanta, and the guy who sort of mentored me, taught me what I know about producing. We would write together, bounce ideas off each other. He was my inspiration. His name is David Leaf, and he was in Atlanta, and he was like, hey, I heard you're in town. You want to come by the studio and like hear what I'm working on now? Let's catch up. And so on one of my days off shooting Catching Fire, I went over to his place, and it was like just like the old times. Immediately, he started playing some tracks and some stuff that he was working on, and we started freestyling. And I was like, I missed this. And he was like, hey, you want to write some stuff for me? So he gave me some tracks that he'd produced. And just in my free time, shooting Catching Fire, I'd be in my trailer writing songs. And he was loving kind of what I'd sent over. And I was like, I need to start doing more of this. So I started putting like acoustic stuff together, just something I could do in a trailer or a hotel room on set. And I would just put it up for fans on SoundCloud. And it was I just had to get that out of me, because it was, it's just part of me. So I had a guy who's a huge A&R in the business contact me, and he was like, I follow you on Twitter because I'm a fan of Thad, I'm a fan of the show and your work. I had no idea you were into music. I think we can do a lot of cool stuff together. Come by the studio, and he's got a big studio in Hollywood. And so he took me in and basically like just got me back in the game unexpectedly. And so I've been writing for the last year in studios around Hollywood for labels and leaving songs on their catalogs for artists to buy. And out of that came a song. I'm really I'm proud to talk about it, because I just sort of started mentioning that I'm doing my first music video. I wanted to come up with a song for the campaign, for the Kickstarter campaign, and I had this idea for a song called Mojito, and it's sort of like Gangnam Style or like the Selfie song, where it's this really big club track, but with a sense of humor. And but to me, like an addictive sound, something that's like sexy and cool but funny at the same time, is the perfect song, and for this genre. And I think I captured that in the song. And so I pitched it to these producers after we finished the session, making a really cool pop song. I was like, hey, how about I pitch you this song and you tell me what you guys think of it or whatever. And if it's stupid and you guys don't want to deal with it, that's fine. But I think it's kind of funny and it could be cool. And I pitched them this song, and they loved it. And they were like, don't go anywhere. We're here all night. You're staying for another session. So I stayed and finished the song till like 2 in the morning. I mean, they didn't want to stop. They loved it so much. And we cut this track, and the song's called Mojito. It is the coolest song in the world, and it's funny. It's perfect because of the audience that I have. I think people are really going to love it.
Is this one on SoundCloud?
What's that?
Is this on SoundCloud right now?
It's no. It's not on SoundCloud. This is like the real deal. This is the real deal. So we cut this thing, and the owner of this studio heard it. The producers called him down because they were like, "You got to hear this song we're working on. It's like this song is going to be big." And he came down, and he heard it, and he was like, "This is like my favorite song I've ever heard. We're making a music video. I'm like, okay. so like, this is kind of how my life is. Like, it's like opportunities sort of like avail themselves, and it's just sort of, we just keep going with it. And so I'm as much into the music world right now as I am into film and TV, and this whole thing is coming to life out of nowhere. And now we've got this. I wrote this treatment for this video. It's like the most insane. It's just like, I come up with these ideas and nobody's saying no to me. I'm like, and then we have a chicken and we throw the chicken into the bar and all the girls run and we like film them in slow motion running from the chicken. Feathers are everywhere. And they're like, yeah, great. Yeah, that sounds great. I'm like, I'm like, all right. So we've got this amazing video that we're doing. We're shooting this thing next week, and we're going to release this thing as fast as we can. We've already shown it to some people at some really large radio stations around the country, and everybody wants to be a part of this. And we've got airtime set up at state. I mean, people, as soon as you hear it, it's the funniest, most addictive thing, and I think it's going to be big.
Hey, man, I promise you we'll put it on and we'll play it over here.
Can't wait, dude. I can't wait till it's out. It's such a cool, funny thing. It's going to be the summer jam, and everybody's going to be singing about mojitos. I love it.
Yeah, well, what we do for our, we're in Ventura County, so like our main goal here is to give people a platform. There's so many artists, and it seems a lot like music is starting to go on this, downward spiral that it's only the people, the only time someone gets, either play or notice if there's a lot of money behind them. And a lot of these underground artists or local, talent, they just don't have a platform. And so that's why we created Buzz Radio. This is why we created the Red Light District Show, is to give voice to the voiceless. And we are very active in the community and with musicians, and it's a big passion of all of ours here on the crew.
That's awesome, and I'm sure it's you're a light to all the people who, like you said, don't have the resources behind them to just to be the next artist that we're sort of shoving down everybody's throat, But for a space where music can grow organically is it's obviously a necessary thing today with the sort of the corporate structure of music, at the top. And I think that's awesome what you're doing. So I definitely commend that. And there's certainly a need for it that you guys have already found. So I love that.
Awesome. All right. Well, I have a few more things. Favorite football team?
My favorite football team?
Yes.
Do I have to say it? Do I have to say this?
Are you a Buffalo Bills fan?
I'm so ashamed of my lifelong allegiance to this shit organization.
It has to be the Bills.
Yeah, it's not. I know everybody's thinking it's the Buffalo Bills.
Is it?
I'm not talking about the Buffalo Bills. I'm talking about the Dallas freaking Cowboys.
Oh. At least you guys have Super Bowls. I'm a Buffalo Bill fan.
55 years ago.
It was 1994. I cried.
Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones said in an interview not long ago, "I don't care about winning. I care about people talking about the Dallas Cowboys."
Well, he does a good job at that. Yeah.
He certainly does that well, but it's a slap in the face to anybody who's supported him. I was raised on the Cowboys. I've always been a fan through the good times and bad. And then you've got somebody like that at the helm, and it spits in the face of everything that the game is about and the fans. And I hate that. I as soon as I heard that, I was like, I'm done. It's not about sticking it out till the next Super Bowl. It's about waiting until this guy croaks, and then we're back on the bandwagon.
All right, so I'm a Buffalo fan, okay? Swear to God. And,
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Not as sorry as I am. So our owner died a couple weeks ago, and I'm hearing that the Bruins are thinking about bringing the Buffalo to L.A. Now, how cool would that be?
I'd give anything, even if the I don't know, the Cowboys should stay in Texas, but literally anybody out of here would be. I mean, I don't know how there's not a football team in LA. It's unreal.
It's ridiculous. I know. It's just silly. DeMarcus
would you go to
Ware.
games? I mean, would you? Because it would be like it'd be like a 2-hour drive, even if you're a couple miles away in the traffic.
Yeah.
I mean, would you really go though? Because I mean, that's the question.
I would go a couple times. Yeah. I mean, I'll probably go once a year. I like to watch. I have my whole setup here. Like, I wake up in the morning at 9 o'clock. I make my coffee. I get my fantasy football up, open my team. I read up, make sure there's no last-minute changes. And I have the NFL Sunday ticket, and that's it.
That sounds like a good life, man.
It is. It's really good.
I think that's a good routine. Yeah, I hope somebody comes out this way.
Do you play?
That's a rumor I hope is true.
Do you play fantasy?
No,
Oh my God, it's better than sex.
I had somebody contact me recently, a friend who's directing a documentary about fantasy football, and I know it's going to be huge. But he was like, I know you got a huge following with the football fans and all that. I'd love for you to be a part of this. And I'm like, I would love to too. I don't know the first thing about fantasy football, and I'm the first to admit it. I'm going to get a lot of hate mail for that. I know, but I don't. I never really got into it, and I kind of understand what it is, but it's not. I just don't. I don't know. I just don't. I never got into it.
You have to at least, if you get some time this year, you should at least try it. Get up in it, and just. I mean, even if you're going to lose, it is the best thing. Like, honestly, if I had a choice between giving up sex for a year and giving up,
whoa!
I'm telling you, giving up fantasy football, I would. At least
big words for a year.
Listen, I like
die
porn.
From that?
Yeah, you probably could. I don't know. It's very close, and for it to even be close, you have to at least try it out to understand.
That sounds great. This is the same conversation somebody had the first time I did meth. You gotta at least try it. You gotta at least try it out. It's great. It's great. Until you've tried it, you can't really knock it. You know.
All right. Do you watch WWE?
Yeah, that sounds good. I watched. You know who I watched. This will date me a little bit. Hulk Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
Yes.
That was
the Megamaniacs.
That was I was into that when I was that age.
You hear about the Ultimate Warrior dying?
Huh?
Did you hear about the Ultimate Warrior passing?
No.
Yeah, he passed away on Tuesday.
Oh no!
I know that shit. I'm really shook up about it, man. I was real sad.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's never fun.
Yeah. TV show. Favorite TV show.
Oof. Oh, that's a good one. Does it have to be? Is it on currently?
No.
Favorite
your favorite ever.
Man, I'm gonna get okay. This is a toss up between Breaking Bad and Lost.
Oh,
and what?
Lost.
Oh, those are my two.
That's mine too.
Those are mine too.
I mean, comic-wise.
That's mine too. They can't be your two. They're mine too.
No, they're mine too.
All right. All right. A couple more. How great is it to be as good looking as you are?
It's pretty wonderful. I go to grocery stores, and I don't even have to pay for produce. They're just sort of like, take it, go, get out of here. No, you know what's funny is I was a late bloomer growing up. I know, like actors and actresses, they're always like, I was such a nerd. No, I've never, like, this is all, like, they're very coy about it. I mean, I was like, I think I had a decent personality. I just was a late bloomer. I was way behind everybody else. I was 17 when I hit puberty. Dang. And I still remember, walking through the cafeteria in shorts one time, and this is in Florida where it's 64,000 degrees outside. And I remember the guy's name. I won't say it, but I remember I passed by his table, and he's like, hey, you got no hair on your legs, Ritchson. And like the whole table switched back. And I'm like, oh my God. And so I like never wore shorts. I always had pants on. I was just super embarrassed of like my body, the way that I looked, you know? And I think it kind of stayed with me because I don't see, like, I get a reaction sometimes, like when I meet people or like when, you know, if I'm like somebody on my team, like, well, you're so good looking. Of course you're going to go out for this part. You're so good looking. I'm like, I don't feel that way. You're a good kid, man. I was a really good kid. I never partied. That is actually based off of a few guys that I grew up with that like they always hated me and like wanted to beat me up all the time. So it's sort of like an amalgamation of like all the guys I never liked.
Did you go to church a lot?
Well, I'm sorry, what was that?
Did you go to church a lot?
I did, yeah. I grew up. I'm not Catholic anymore. I still practice. I'm a Protestant now, but I grew up Catholic, and I was like really involved. My mom was super staunch Catholic. We went to Sunday school all the way through my senior year. We had to go. I mean, we were always involved, and I was really active. Like I was like the music leader, you know, at the 6 o'clock mass, you know, which was like the one for kids, you know, where you had like a band and stuff, and I was like always the guy up there. I mean, I was really involved, and I no longer agree with any of the theology, not any, a lot of the theology and doctrine of the Catholic Church, but yeah, I was like I was always practicing and trying to be a good person, and then
I did the same thing.
That to life.
I did the same thing. Like when I was growing up, I was a real good kid. You know, I was just really into church, and I was a late bloomer as well. And I fell off as well with the Catholic Church. I really found it hard to really comprehend like how they'll spend billions of dollars on cathedrals, but they're not going to spend that same billions of dollars to help people who are starving and who are homeless. And that's where I fell off right there.
Yeah. I mean, there's no organization or institution that large that does everything well. But I think there's sort of an epidemic of trying to protect the institution rather than innocent parties, whether it be the poor, like you're talking about, whether it be children. I think in my opinion, it's creating a lot more victims than helping people, grow closer to in their faith, grow closer to Christ, or whatever their mission is. I just don't think they're even close on a large scale to doing that. So I can't be a part of something like that.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Alan, I have one more favor. I was wondering, my friend's going to get married. His name's Ryan Chow. If you can tell him congratulations for me. He's like a big fan. Like he was almost crying.
He was crying?
He almost was. I heard his voice crack when he was on the phone with me. So if you can just tell him not to cry and say congratulations or something for me, I would really appreciate it.
Ryan Chow, buddy, stop crying. It's going to be good. It's going to be fine. You're going to get through this. Unless he was really crying about me, and then Ryan, I'm flattered. Then weep. You should be weeping.
Weep into my bosom. Yeah. All right, Alan, buddy, I really appreciate it. There's no words that can express it, and I'm gonna put a link on our website to your guys' Kickstarter. And I'm gonna scream it every time I'm on the air from every commercial. I'm eternally grateful.
Pleasure's all mine. I love this format, man. It's like I like that we can just chat, and I appreciate the questions and the time and the support. For the show, what was, and for what we hope to do. I mean, I do this because I want to give somebody either a new idea to sort of mull over that maybe is not on the zeitgeist of society at the time, or just pure entertainment because people need it. And I think we can do that really well with this franchise, and we're hoping to do a lot more. So thank you very much for that, and we really hope that we can keep giving people some more laughs.
Awesome. Hey, we got this. We're going to make it. We're going to do it. We're going to see this movie, right?
Let's do it, man.
Let's do it. All right, thanks, Alan Ritchson, Thad Castle, BMS. Go. What is a direct link for this Kickstarter? If you know, so I can send.
April 15th. This thing is going live, man. April 15th. Yeah, and we hope to have a really big first day. It's a really important day, so we're trying to get as many people out on the first day as possible. It'll really inform the rest of the campaign, and that's the big day. Yeah. So April 15th, Kickstarter, BMS the movie.
All right. Go see him. Thank you so much, Alan.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it, bud.
Appreciate it. You guys have a great night.
You have a good night as well. This is the Red Light District Show. We will be right back.